Hello gamers, it's SoftKitty99 and today we're in Parkitect in the Taste of Adventure expansion and we're taking a look at the campaign. The scenario this week is Technopolis. In the middle of the bustling metropolis of Tokyo, you've acquired a shopping mall encompassing a full city block. You are to develop it into a thriving all-round entertainment complex with the addition of theme park attractions. But with nowhere else to go, you'll have to build it on the roofs of the existing buildings. So basically we've got a really limited amount of space that we can build on, and we can't change the terrain that we're given, so you're going to have to be very careful about how you build. Scenario is to have at least 450 guests in your park and to have a cleanliness rating of at least 90%. So those are the two goals, cleanliness of 90% and 450 guests. But if you want the gold medal, you'll have to do the optionals. The optionals are to have at least 2 coasters in your park with an excitement rating of 65 or above, and considering how much of a small amount of space you've got, you're going to have to be really careful in your building of these coasters. The other optionals are to complete all non-optional goals without building while the game is paused, and to complete all optional goals without using any tracked ride blueprints, and finally to complete all non-optional goals by the end of December of year 2. So there's quite a steep difficulty increase in the Taste of Adventure scenarios from the ones from the original Parkitect game, especially for people like me who struggle with building the rides. I must admit I did end up starting this campaign more than once in order to try and finally figure out what to do with the rides for the coasters. And even after all of that, I still didn't get the gold medal, but I'm really pleased with what I've ended up with. Though, to be honest, these coasters are definitely not the best and definitely don't really fit perfectly into the idea. So you can see the exact amount of space you've got here. So you've basically got one flattish section here across this roof with this sticky up bit here, and then you've got a drop down here and then a raised up piece here. So my initial thought was I'd put a coaster along this entire section of the roof so that you've got this terrain here that you could build up and down on, and maybe you could even put a flat ride underneath it. But that didn't work out terribly well, because I did first start trying to build a ride all the way along. It didn't go terribly well for me. You know, I'm not the best at building these coasters, so I ended up rebuilding 3 or 4 times and I'm still not happy with what I've got. So what I did end up building is a hydraulically launched coaster over this side and a vertical spinning coaster over this side. Now the vertical spinning coaster, I did try to kind of follow pictures of rides that I saw on the internet, but the excitement ratings for this thing seemed to be super high, so it didn't ever turn out terribly well. So I did try rebuilding it a few times to try and figure out what I did wrong. It just seems that it has too much speed, so it just scares the riders, so it didn't turn out terribly well. But in the actual look of it, I think it's not too far off what you would see in real rides of that type. So by the time I've ended up finishing it, I've got an excitement rating of 70, an intensity of 78 and a nausea of 41. So didn't turn out too bad in the end, but I did end up having to put some slow down sections with brakes in it and change the way it worked a little bit by trying to not let where it loops down be going down before you follow the twist down, if you see what I mean. I think so here it needs to be going up, not going down, because it just adds too much momentum if it spins round as it's already going down. So you just need to try and slow it down, hence putting block brakes and things in. So in the end we didn't end up with too bad a little rating for it, so I'm quite pleased with that one. This one, as I said, I originally wanted it to go all the way across to the end of the roof here, and in the end I just kept changing it. It was too intense when it went further across the roof, so I ended up cutting off that section to slow it down a little bit and make it a little bit more usable, but even so we've still got too high an intensity rating, so it really could use another edit. But by this point I managed to actually complete the scenario, so I left it at that. So the excitement of 71 is really cool, the intensity is just too much. Nausea value is quite good though, and I just couldn't quite figure out how to adjust it to get this down low enough, but say the scenario finished at that point, so I did leave it. So let's let you have a quick look at my coasters and just see how crazy they actually are. So this is the hydraulically launched coaster, so let's follow it around. So you come out of the station and you go up a vertical lift hill, and then we start to get a little bit too intense for people. But I just thought having that big loop right at the edge of the building would just be a great scare feature. So perhaps that twist upside down is just too tight a turn, but we've not got that much space to build on. So considering the space we've got to build in, I don't think I did too bad, but I would have preferred that intensity to be down a little bit. But I do think I'm learning quite a lot about the building of the coasters. As you can see, all the roof was this original grey colour. So what I've done is I've turned it into a bit of a rooftop garden by just putting planting all the way underneath the coaster, because that adds prettiness and it adds lots of decoration value to your ride as well, and that just makes the whole of this upper section into a beautiful garden for the coaster to dive and twist above, rather than just having all this boring grey concrete. I did originally start out with some grey paths, and I thought that's just too boring, so I switched it all to this nice bright orange just to add colour to it. And as you can see, I've kind of gone for pastels and pinks and colours that are quite bright and candy-ish to go with the Taste of Adventure theme. So we've kind of got the candy colours from the candy sections and the terracotta tiles for the Aztec version, and we've used lots of the new Aztec-y adventure plants in the plantings. And I've just, every little gap I've got everywhere I've gone, I've just turned it into green using the terrain painting tool, just turned it all into grassy green in any little space we've got, and just added a load of plants to it to make it pretty. So let's go take a look. Your guests come in from your building here, so this is where they start into the park. So I've added some prettiness right next to the entranceway, and I've managed to put the vertically spinning coaster, there you go, right on the edge of the building, so it overlooks the streets, which I think is a very scary feature of a ride like this. And because it's got such a small footprint, it actually is a great sort of design for a rooftop build, so I just thought that would fit in really well. And then this little gap that we've got between the entrance and the vertical spinning coaster, I've managed to fit in the Ferris wheel. And again, look, you've got this beautiful view out over to this park. This looks like a proper park, doesn't it, with the little Japanese gate and the cherry blossoms and things. So they've got this great view out over into what looks like it's probably a park area, and off the edge of the building to be scary. And of course you're right next to the spinning coaster, so you've got a great view of that as well. So we're utilising the space as efficiently as I possibly can think of, and they've just got single square there, so I've made it plants, and a single square here around the queues, so again plants, just to add that prettiness factor to the thing, so it's not all just flat, boring, squished, to make it feel more open. Oh, somebody lost a balloon. And then the path down here leads to the queue for the coaster here, and then we've got some more planting underneath the coaster. And then at the opposite side of the path to the coaster, we've got the entrance for the twister. And the twister itself, as you can see, the exit is right here, so that leaves us just a little bit of green to put some more plants in this corner. And then we've got a wider path here, a double wide, so that we've got space to get further into the park. At the opposite side of the path we have that crazy tourbillon. Look at the way that twists and turns around. That is just a crazy ride, isn't it? So here's the queue into the tourbillon, and you see we've got this nice wide path to make it feel like we've got more space in here. So you've got a double wide path, so at this side you go up to our hydraulically launched coaster up on the top of this building over here, and at the side the path here splits down the back here. So the entrance is over this direction and the exit is over here. So the entrance splits half the path and the exit is the second half of the path. And then off this path you've got the entrance to the tourbillon, and then off the main path here you've got the entrance to the twister and then the exit here. And the exit of course brings you back to the main path and also onto the next ride, the Wipeout, which comes in and out here. And we've still got a little bit of space, and I'm really surprised by the fact that I managed to finish the scenario without having totally run out of space. So I was researching for more rides and some more shops because I figured I would have to extend my shopping district. So if I twist around here next to the Wipeout, and again use the little tiny bit of space here by these rides just to add a little bit of green, and as you can see underneath the coaster over here again I've added more green because this is at the back of these rides as well, so they get a great view of this little garden as they go round on the bouncy jumper. So here the path itself, still double wide, continues down into this section which allows you to have access up here over this little bridge to the wave swinger, which as it spins out people kind of get spun off the edge of the building, which is a little bit scary I think. And the path for the queue goes around another little garden area up here, so you come up the path and go in here and then you come back out here and down and round, so that should help the traffic flow so that people are not getting too congested. And that brings you out in this little square down here where again I've got a little garden right in the centre, and we've got lots and lots of seating all the way around the plants for our little food court area here. So we've got more benches and our bins and things in all the sort of bamboo idea style. Here you see we've got the staff room hidden in the corner, and here we've got our shops coming across here, and then access for the staff here. And this building here is where you have your goods in depot. So if we hide the scenery, see this is where you've got your goods in place here for your staff. So we've just got a path right along the very edge of the building, added in our staff room, and then our little row of shops. So we've got umbrellas, balloons, bubble tea, and then the vending machine. So we didn't have a ton of different things to start with. And then right over here we've got our ATM and a toilet, which I think is the only toilet in the entire area because I didn't manage to add a second one yet. But we managed to finish off, and that was where the scenario ended. So I'm actually quite pleased with what I've built. So when you're thinking about building for this one yourselves, give yourself a little bit of thought about how you're going to utilise the space. So as you said, you've bought this big shopping district area, and then you've got to build on top of it. So I love the fact that they've got the big sign for the in here, look. So this is where your people come in, you see, they come in through here, and that's the entrance to your park is down here, which would effectively be in through the shopping mall, wouldn't it? So yeah, it kind of looks like you've got multiple buildings that you've bought the entire block, but you've got the space on top to build on. So that is the park that I built to finish off this scenario. So hopefully that helps you to have some inspiration for your own builds, and I hope that you've enjoyed my little tour of my park that I built for this scenario. And I hope you have a lot of fun building it yourselves. And as I said, I learned an awful lot about coasters on this one, and there I admit I am nowhere near being an expert, and I would just settle for being able to build them in a competent fashion, but hopefully we will get there at some point. And thanks again to everyone that gave me tips about how to help me build the coasters better, and I think I'm improving. I hope you agree, and I hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. From SoftKitty99, goodbye and happy gaming!